Good evening and welcome to EvilGinger Miniatures, where I'll be doing some more work on these. That one obviously is finished and was one I did a little bit while back, like the pictures on at the same time as I did the ones that are shown on the thumbnail for this little video. This is where we are at the moment. They arrived the other day. I haven't done anything more on them since I last did a video, apart from tiny bits of looking over them and seeing and cleaning up, but they're going to be a lot easier to clean up as I work on them. As I say, many of these models are the same as I showed you before, and I'm going to be doing my usual trick with milliput and basing. The main thing I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be putting the Pro models onto proper bases, because I finally got those back from I ordered them on the Thursday, and lovely people from War Bases got them to me this morning, or this afternoon in the post. So I will be showing you those bases and putting the 3 Pro models that I got with the sets onto those. But again, that's pretty much all I'll be doing with these. Is again just smoothing off the back, the pill base, so it's the puddle base, so it's actually flush and you can't tell it's there. So it'll end up looking like that when it's all done. Anyway, I got 2 sizes of base. These are, and they're plywood rather than MDF. The thing with MDF, with plywood, is that they are potentially thinner. This is 1.5mm thick and pretty much the same thickness as the plastic bases. In fact, exactly the same thickness as the plastic bases that the other infantry are on, so there isn't going to be a lumpy base. I decided to get these rather than use the Warlord ones because you can get these in more variety of sizes. This is 25 by 50, which is the same size as a Warlord one, which I could use for some of the prone figures, but I have decided, because I've got another option, these can stay around for KNI because they'll get used, the same bases will get used, to get some of these, which is the next size up, which is same thickness, but it's 60 by 30. And because I quite like the figures to be contained to within the base, having the slightly bigger base is a good idea. So I'm going to do the bigger bases. I'm going to do the prone figures first, and then I'm going to go and do the other bits and pieces. There's a Lewis gunner with his tripod, and then there is another rifleman who is... Now, prone figures are seldom completely flat on the belly for reasons that ought to be obvious. So what you do with these is you use a little bit of milliput's ground. Doesn't show up very well. It's basically there we are, and use the super glue. Again, I don't need all of that, and you just squidge the figure into the didn't put too much glue on this, but it will do no harm once it's dry. Just means it's going to have to wait a lot longer. But basically, you get him into a position that looks realistic of someone lying on the floor firing a rifle. And you do that with all of them. A little bit of spit stops your fingers sticking to the milliput quite so much, and you're getting a milliput glue sandwich. Just go and push down into that, so the figure fits entirely within the borders of the base. One more for the Lewis gunner. Lewis gunner is a teeny bit more complicated because he's a 2-part model. and the two-part model, you're going to be sticking those two bits separately, and you have to get them in more or less the right relative location. So that is the tripod bit, and then you get the little bit of glue on the bottom of the Lewis gunner. Again, with these, I didn't get quite the poses I wanted, but I said that pretty much I would take what I got because the stock level was a bit low. So just sort that out so he's lined up and he looks in a plausible firing position for it. You just need that to go off properly. So I'll put those to one side over there. I want to actually get a camera I can flip round. The better webcam that I got isn't really up to it yet. So it's probably going to be a camcorder, and I'll record these in advance rather than doing them live. Again, just using the last of the to do around the bases. Standard milliput again. The newer stuff comes with cellophane, and it's a bit more of a faff to deal with than the plastic, but I probably understand it's a bit more biodegradable than the original plastic. But again, it's just a 50-50 mix of milliput and as I say, I was planning to do this tomorrow after my little cancellation on the trip to Bosworth, but I got a bit impatient and I just fancy doing it tonight because I have been painting stuff that has been driving slowly around a bend, and there's a limited amount to the 12mm I can do at the moment because you get mild eye strain from staring at small detail stuff, and I'm getting to the detailed bit that picking out colours and details, and the workshop stuff is driving me slightly mad. I got a very nice gentleman of my acquaintance to 3D print me a handle for that mechanical dragon I was talking about. The only problem is that there is an idiot who might be sitting watching at the moment, who managed to, in a fit of sloppiness and laziness, just got the steel rule out, did not get the engineering kit out. So I didn't use calipers. I didn't use internal calipers, and I used the steel rule, and I basically got the dimensions wrong, so that the base, the painting handle I had custom made, doesn't fit. The bit that needs to engage with the flight stand thing under the dragon doesn't fit. It is too big, and the material it's made of doesn't seem to want to be filed. Otherwise I would have adjusted it without troubling the nice gentleman any further. So so I measured it properly, proper kit, and basically I'm having it redone. But I've been doing other than the dragon on these. Again, just a question of going around and merging the bases in. Does make rebasing a bit of an issue, and this sort of thing is much more fiddly to do if you've got if you're using sort of 4 figures on a base or more. However, for skirmish style games, which Chain of Command and Bolt Action both are, where you have individually based models, this works really well pretty much all the time. And I'd probably be using a smaller scale if I was doing bulk stuff, or I would be using sabot bases if I need movement trays. So movement trays don't always look beautiful, but they are extremely practical if you want to have individually based figures on a. And I'm going to have to wet my fingers because it's sticking to your fingers. That's why you spit on your fingers. In fact, I have got some water somewhere. I've got some painting water over there. I could stick my fingers in the painting water and do this. Then this is a sergeant. The original section packs had the same sergeant. So it's basically identical to the other one, the one I've already painted. Painting water. It's not the world's cleanest water because it's like everything else that's got multiple different colours in it. It degenerates into a sort of a brown colour. A bit like the plasticine I used to use when I was a kid. So just a little bit of water on that and my fingers stop sticking to it. These will need a look over and a little bit of a clean up. They're not particularly afflicted with flash and whatever have you, and the drainage bits from to allow metal filling, but they're always there. It's an artifact of method of production in the same way that supports are an artifact of 3D printing. So all methods of production have their little foibles. The other foible of one-piece metal castings is, or one-piece castings generally, is the fact that they tend to work mostly in one axis rather than multiple ones. Mostly because the molds are made in two halves and they have a plane in which they open. These are rather nicely done. They remind me of Perry in style, and that they are very, they're not the chunky style you associate with Warlord and Artisan and Crusader. Doesn't make either style wrong or bad. It just means that occasionally there are visual. They don't look quite so brilliant against each other. But if they're different armies, it really doesn't matter because you're only ever going to see them together when they're in close combat in a game like this. It really isn't going to make any odds. I'm interested to see what Bolt Action version 3 does to the game. Because whilst I'm not a massive Bolt Action player, it is a good game, and I have played some really fun games of it. Though the one I liked was Beyond the Gates of Antares, which changed the dice from D6 to D10, and was obviously a set of rules tailored for the science fiction setting that it was intended for, rather than World War II. I have friends who really want to play Conflict 47, which is also based on it, and I'm rather looking forward to playing that, though I will almost certainly be starting off with a vanilla platoon without any of the extra bits to it. That's one of the sections done, and I've just got to drag the rest of them. As I say, there are 24 of them. There are things like that bent barrel which I've got to work out and gently straighten. But as I say, these are slightly leaded pewter, and they are much more forgiving than the brass hard stuff that a lot of models are made out of. Because you can actually bend this It's not quite as forgiving as the old very high lead pewters that models used to be made back in the day when I was a kid, but it is more forgiving than the really hard stuff where you can hear the crystals grinding against each other as you straighten them. The other thing with bending, it's not what sometimes it's packaging, but a lot of the time it's actually a cooling thing. The model bends as it cools, because these come out the mold hot but solidified. Again, I'm getting quite a section over there. These will be primed tomorrow, and I will be painting them in betwixt and between, because I'm not going to Bosworth. Think for that. It's a place I've been several 100 times and been invited to every year since COVID, since 2021, and the centre reopened. And I highly recommend going there. It's just that not being one member of the car driving fraternity, it makes getting from and it being in utterly the middle of nowhere when it is with regards to public transport, it makes getting over there more of a thing than quite the logistic thing, especially if you're taking soldiers and models across with it, because again, transporting models, and I've done it quite a lot on public transport, if it's present, is not exactly the world's most stress-free experience. And it does actually give you genuine reasons to be paranoid, I find. But next year, I'll be over there and I will get loads of pictures, which I'm planning on taking. Because I'll be taking a camera, I'll probably be taking a camcorder, so we'll actually get some film. Because next year, I will have so much more kit for doing this sort of thing than I have now. You've got to remember that this YouTube channel is very young, and I started off with pretty much no kit, and I'm still filming this on the little built-in camera on my little laptop. I plan on doing painting when I've got better setup, and you can actually see what I'm doing a bit better, because all you're seeing is me talking and waving figures at you. And it is, I don't think painting is photogenic at the best of times, but if you haven't got a camera you can point at the painting, it's very much less so. Also might be doing some painting tutorials, because I've seen a lot of bad painting tutorials and overcomplicated painting tutorials, and because of what I do, which is paint armies, most of the time I'm spending my time thinking about how to speed up and uncomplicate a situation, uncomplicate the process. How can I achieve this with the least time and effort involved, which is a boon if you've got a huge army. The difficulty you find with this is if you're painting something you've not painted before, you then get slow again because you're learning how to do it faster. And coffee, the coffee god. Because, believe it or not, you're getting it dry. Jumping away to people. As I say, I will have a good look at these when these have gone off. Tomorrow I'll clean them up, primer them, probably spot some more stuff I've missed on the cleaning up front. And I'll primer them. And then I'll start painting them. But having done one section, these should be much quicker to do. And we're nearly done. We've got 2 more figures to do. And as the law of the awkwardness of the universe tends to a maximum, I'm going to have to make some more milliputs to do the last 2 figures, because I've just used the last mixed piece of milliput to part do that figure. Because the sergeant, another one of the squads, as I say, all the sergeants are that pose at the moment. I have seen some of the new poses, and they have got much more fluidity and variety of pose, and are of the same quality as these, which, as I say, is very good, very crisp, very clean, and very, very little work to prep them. Though I am tolerant of things I know are artifacts of production, and which you won't see at reasonable levels. These, after all, are going to be, even though I'm going to paint them as nicely as I can, they're going to be plain pieces, which is a thing that is often lost on sculptors. But these practical plain pieces, robust practical plain pieces, which should be seeing action at various demos for various games. I have Chain of Command obviously worked out already, because I know the rules very well enough, and I will probably be investing in third ed bolt action and using that as well. There are other sets of rules out there which I have some familiarity with, and I might be demoing those as well. It all depends on me making the time to do it and getting hold of rules and learning new ones. And we're just doing the last one. And that's the last one done. Again, just broach the base into the base. And you'll see this again, which is, don't really need to put more on here, but I've got this piece of milliput left, so I might as well put a few more bricks in the wall, so as not to waste it. And with that done, I think I will call the session. Thank you for watching, and I hope you picked up something from it and are interested in this sort of impromptu forming mini-series that is sort of coming along as I do these. There will be more of these because there is more to do on these. Yeah, extra bit of wall on the ruin. At some point I will paint that, and I'll obviously have to start a new one. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Take care, everybody, and goodbye.